Hi, this is Denise Mathew, and today I'm going to talk about the profile lines 4 to 6 of human design. And if you haven't already, please feel free to check out the profile lines 1 to 3 in a separate video. But if not, let's get started and talk about the remaining 3 lines of the profiles of human design. When we talked about the first 3 lines of the profiles, we talked about how our profiles describe how we operate in the outside world as well as our personalities. How there are 12 profiles made up of combinations of 6 different lines. Also, where you can find the profile on your body graph, and that the profiles are based on your birth time and birth date. And also that the profile lines come from the conscious sun and the unconscious sun. And lastly, we talked about how lines 1 to 3 are considered interpersonal lines, or lines that carry the energy of somebody who is here to discover more about themselves, and it's a personal journey. Now we're going to talk about the transpersonal lines, which are the lines 4 to 6, which is more of a discovery of the energy of partnerships and what it means to be in a relationship. So now let's continue talking about the lines and talk about the fourth line, also called the line of the opportunist. When we talk about the fourth line, this is a line of the opportunist and is found in profiles 1-4, 2-4, 4-1, and 4-6. And the biggest theme of the energy of the opportunist is social groups and friendships are very necessary for the fourth line to reach their goals. When you carry the energy of the fourth line, you have friends all over the place because this is the energy of somebody who wants to know and meet everyone. But sometimes the discernment of the people that they meet is something that they have to learn as they go through their life. So that means there could be a string of bad relationships or even a string of bad friendships. When you carry the fourth line energy, you can be the life of the party, but only after somebody's convinced you to actually go to the party, because a lot of times you think you want to be alone, but then when you're alone, you feel lonely. And then you'll go out and socialize and have fun only to retreat at home and recharge your batteries. This is also the energy of somebody who doesn't like conflict, and rather than fight sometimes, they will just disappear. Ghosting was probably invented by somebody with fourth line energy. Since social groups are the most important part of being an opportunist, that's why it's important for them to know who's right and who's wrong for them. And the quicker they learn this, the better their life will be. Another part of an opportunist energy is that they may stay around in something that doesn't work for them anymore, a relationship or even a job, because they never feel comfortable leaving in one opportunity unless another one's already set up. And this holds true for most of their life. Because the energy of the fourth line is all about being friendly and social, it's important for somebody with a fourth line energy to be friends with someone before they become romantic with them, because the fourth line is all about a foundation that they can build on. This is the first line of the transpersonal energy, where people who carry the fourth line are here to learn more about themselves through relationships rather than themselves on their own. So if we look at Cardi B's chart, we see that she's got the energy of the opportunist, and it makes a lot of sense because based on her history, she became part of groups and had friendships that were not necessarily the best for her, joining a gang when she was 16 and also becoming a stripper when she was 19 and allegedly drugging and robbing men for money so that she could get by. Even in her own words, the energy of the opportunist is quite strong in that she said, "Ever since I started using guys, I feel so much better about myself. I feel so damn powerful." Now, of course, this isn't always the way the energy of the opportunist operates. It's just an extreme example of how we can see the energy of the fourth line. Based on Cardi B's current life and her trajectory for her career, she seems to have met the right people who are giving her the right opportunities so she can get the success she's always wanted. The fifth line is called the heretic, but since that has a negative connotation attached to it, we'll call it the line of the teacher because that's really what they're here to do. The fifth line is found in the profiles 2-5, 3-5, 5-1, and 5-2. The main theme for the fifth line is to universalize knowledge, or to break it up into smaller parts so it can be easily understood by other people. Just like the fourth line, the fifth line is transpersonal, meaning that they're here to learn more through partnerships. But since the fifth line energy is always combined with an interpersonal energy of a 1, 2, or 3, it really is about finding out about the self through relationships. That will be flavored by the line or theme that they actually carry. Something that a fifth line will notice a lot about their life path is that a lot of people project energy on them or project ideas about who they are and how they operate, much of which isn't really true about them. Many fifth lines will feel that nobody really knows who they are And this energy of projection can also be projected on other people just as much as it's projected on them. It's usually a two-way street. So that's why it's important for a fifth line energy to always have the right projection field or to be with the right group of people who see them for who they are. Because when they're not in the right projection field, they can be blamed for things that they haven't done. And when this blame turns into criticism, someone who carries the fifth line energy will want to disappear. But when a fifth line energy is in the correct projection field, they can have a seductive charm about their being. And like a vortex, the correct people will come into their sphere. This energy can be someone who can smoosh very well and get people to do what they want them to do. And sometimes knowing that they have this power over people make people abuse this energy. But when they're living in integrity, somebody who carries a fifth line energy can sway people in a positive direction using their skill of universalizing energy to benefit those people that come under the influence of the fifth line energy. So if we look at the chart of Ryan Reynolds, who's a 5-1 profile, first of all, he's an actor, which is very common for fifth line profiles to be actors because they can change their projection field based on who they want to be. And if we look at Ryan Reynolds' career and the places where he struggled the most in his career, we can always see that he's always being projected on as being a funny guy. And most of his success has been found in films that he can use that to his benefit. But at one point in his career, he decided to change the roles that he was always taking into something that was more serious. And what he found when he did that was that most of his movies that he made where he played a character that wasn't funny or wasn't a comedian of sorts, he usually didn't do so well in the box office because the expectation was his projection field was that he would be a funny guy. He even played a superhero when he played the Green Lantern, and that was a flop as well. And because of this, his career took quite a hit. But only after he embraced that projection field of the comedian and took on the role of Deadpool, wisecracking mercenary with exhilarating healing powers, did he actually jump into a role that was both a superhero, but it had a comedic component as well, where he was finally doing roles in what his audience considered the correct projection field. And based on what he said, it seemed as though he enjoyed this role. So he was in the correct projection field doing the right thing and putting a positive spin on a character who, by all accounts, would have been someone that not many people would have loved. By universalizing the energy of the character, Ryan Reynolds was able to bring the character to life in a way that people could understand who he was, but also could appreciate the comedic value of the story. And in doing so, he gave the dimension to the role that maybe another actor might not have been able to do. And the last line is the sixth line, also called the role model. The role model is found in the profiles 3-6, 4-6, 6-2, and 6-3. And unlike all the other lines, the role model has a three-phase life path. 0 to 28 is considered their experimental phase. 28 years to their Chiron return, which is probably about between 48 and 50 years of age, is their stage of when they're on the roof. And after that, they will have their Chiron return, and that's when they come out as their full role model. Once again, the sixth line is considered transpersonal or finding their life purpose through their relationships. Someone who carries the role model energy can be someone who is considered a late bloomer in life, because only after they've gone through their three distinct phases do they truly become the role model that they're meant to be. And those three distinct phases are 0 to 28, or from birth until 28 years, is when they embody the energy of the third line. So if you want more information on the third line, you can just check back on that. But basically, it's an experimental stage of their life where they bump up against a lot of things trying to figure out what's right for them. After 28, or right around their Saturn return, is when a role model will go on to the next phase, which is considered or called going on to the roof. And what that means is that all the lessons they learned from their experimental phase will be sorted through, and they can decide what worked and what didn't work. It's also a time where they're watching other people and seeing how everybody else is doing things. It can be a time when their career doesn't actually grow much. It can be a time where they actually find their life partner that they want to spend the rest of their life with. They might want to get married, because the theory is that a role model always incarnates with a partner, for lack of a better word, a soulmate. So after they've done their experimental phase, they're looking for that soulmate to come up on the roof with them. But even if they don't find the soulmate, they might take somebody else that they think is just as good and have that person come with them onto the roof. This can also be a time of loneliness, but they don't want to leave the house. They want to stay inside, especially if they are a 6-2 energy, which has a role model with a hermit energy as well. And after they've been on the roof until their Chiron return, they finally come into the true expression of what a role model is supposed to be. And if they've happened to make a mistake on who they thought their soulmate was, this would be when a divorce would happen. And if they don't feel that the career is the correct career for them, they might give up their career, change careers. It can be a very transformative time of their life. And also the theory is that if a role model does not find their destined mate, they really can't fulfill their purpose in life. But nobody really knows if this is true or not. But when a role model finally achieves the role model status, they become teachers. And the teaching that they do is less about the fifth line energy, which is about universalizing energy and breaking down things so other people can understand and actually knowing what they're doing and actively trying to teach somebody something. The role model teaches by just being themselves. And by being themselves, the role model, without much effort at all, teaches the lesson of authenticity and just being comfortable in your own self. So if we look at the chart of Robert Downey Jr., we can see that he's a 6-2 role model. And if we look at his life, we can see definitely the energy of the sixth line. He had a definite experimental age where he experimented with drugs, got into major addiction issues, and then he had to go and get some rehab when his career was stumbling because he was losing too many jobs because of his addictions. He also had a divorce, and a lot of things happened that can be very distinctive with a role model in their first stage of their life. After he went through rehab, his career continued on and he was doing projects and movies, but he didn't have a lot of commercial success in his career at that point, which could definitely show the going on the roof stage. Slowly his career built and he was given more roles until finally he got the Iron Man role, and then his career became even more successful. In 2015, he had his Chiron return, and then he came into his full role model status. And based on how his career looks now, it only seems to grow more and more every year. Of course, you can look at the ages and you can say that they don't necessarily all line up with the things that were supposed to happen based on him being a role model. But you also have to keep in mind that there will always be some wiggle room in the actual numbers and ages when things happen in a person's life, because that's just what life's about. But the other aspect of it is that we can see a definite progression in the 3 phases of his life where he definitely was experimenting, then moved on to sort of standing back and not doing as much as he was before, where his career was more of a standstill and wasn't really growing, and then slowly where it started to build again and grow. And one more part of him coming into his role model status that's quite obvious based on the press that he's given is his relationship with the actor Tom Holland, who has always considered Robert Downey Jr. a mentor of his and someone who he's learned a lot from as he himself grows as a Hollywood actor. And just by being himself, Robert Downey Jr. is a role model to many actors, not just Tom Holland. And after many trials, experiments, and stumbles in his life, has finally achieved the status of role model where he can be exactly who he is, and by being who he is, can be an inspiration to many people in the world. Learning the profile lines is just one more facet in the human design system and opens the book a little bit wider about who you are. But I'm going to stop here for now and let you digest what I've talked about. And make sure to check out my other videos where you can learn more and more information about human design and the body graph and all about you. Because when we truly know who we are, life just gets easier.